What's up, YouTube? A little bit of everything Southern Homestead. I'm sorry the audio didn't capture, but we're working on our fall garden, zone 9A. So here's my spring garden. Here's a little soil sample, the NPK and the pH. Everything looks pretty well depleted. I have a few eggplant plants left here that I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up all of this landscaping fabric. Go ahead, add some nutrients, till the garden, and get it ready for planting. Alright, here I'm just removing the baskets, pulling up the eggplant plants. They did pretty well during the spring. Getting all the sticks out the ground, trying to get everything nice and clean, get it ready for tilling. It's September 25th here, so it's finally starting to warm up. We had about 30 days straight of rain, so I'm hoping once this landscape fabric comes up, it's not too moist to where I can't till. Go ahead and get this done. The good thing about this landscape fabric is when you pull it up, the weeds come right up with it. I'll probably utilize some of this in between the rows in my fall garden. I typically don't utilize landscape fabric on the fall garden because it just traps too much moisture, keeps the dirt too cold, and I just find the plants don't do quite as well. Alright, so here you can see I have 7 rows. This garden's 25 by 25, roughly. Pretty much no grass left in it, which is good for me and easy on my part. I'm gonna go ahead and get this tiller going. A little bit about this tiller: it was an MTD tiller. I found it on the side of the road. Engine was shot. I went to Harbor Freight. I bought a Predator motor. It was pretty much a direct bolt-on, and I've been using it for about 3 or 4 years now. No issues. Typically starts first or second crank. Front tine tiller. Has the rear bar in the back to control the depth, and you'll see me set that, and I'll till this garden up here shortly. Try to break all the soil up so I can add my nutrients, make my rows, and try to get to planting. Again, we had a lot of rain, so some of this soil is still wet. It's going to make for some hard work. Alright, you can see the soil is real dark, which just indicates a lot of moisture. The tiller's making a few clumps, but the dirt seems manageable to work it, so we're going to continue on, try to get this done. We don't know how many more days left we're going to have of no rain. Try to get these plants in. Fall's quickly approaching. Want to try to grow a good harvest this year. Alright, so everything's tilled up. We're going to go ahead and add our nutrients. So the soil sample I showed earlier, I had a high pH. So here I'm going to lower my pH a little bit using an organic soil acidifier. This ought to lower the pH right around where the plants want it. Go ahead and look at maybe the LSU Ag Center is where I get my information from on the desirable pH of each plant and subspecies of plants. Next, I'm going to add some nitrogen with some blood meal. The NPK you'll see on the bag is high in the first number, which indicates nitrogen, and then it's 0, 0 after, so it means there's no phosphorus and no potassium. I try to really stay where the rows are at. So here is going to be the bone meal. That's high in phosphorus, so that middle number is very high. I'm going to add some of that, and like I said, I try to stay where the rows were before. I don't want to have a whole lot of fertilizer in between the rows. And here's the potash. It adds potassium, which is the K in the NPK. So that last number is going to be real high. And by avoiding the middle of the rows or in between the rows, I'm not feeding the grass to make more work for myself later in the fall. And here I have a sea mineral that I'm adding. This is something I typically put in my container gardens, and I just had some left over, figured the micronutrients couldn't hurt to give it to the plants and try it out. So just something new this year, try to add this sea mineral. Again, trying to just aim for the rows, not in between the rows where they once were. And lastly, I'm adding, this is some rabbit compost. We have some rabbits here on the homestead. At any one point in time, I have anywhere between 4 and about 25. So the compost adds up pretty quick. Again, I'm doing the same thing, just adding it in the same area, trying to avoid in between the rows. Try to really get a good spread. Like I said, the garden's 25 by 25. I'll end up with about 7 rows once I finally cut the rows out and get it ready for planting. So here I'm tilling the garden again. Typically I won't do this, but since some of the soil was still real wet and clumpy, I'm just trying to break it up. I didn't increase the depth of the tiller. I don't want to push any of the nutrients further down into the soil. I'm really just trying to fluff the dirt here and get rid of some of that excess moisture so we can work the soil and create our rows. If you notice here and there, I'll stop momentarily, pick up something off the ground. That's just some grass or roots that's coming to the surface that I just want to get out of the garden. You know, grass grows easy enough on its own. I don't want to help grow more than I need to pluck during the fall season. And here's the finished product. Looks nutrient rich. So I had to wait a few days. The soil was still kind of wet, couldn't quite make the rows. Again, I'm tilling it because it's still clumpy on that backside. The fence is on the southern aspect of my yard, so it actually prevents the sun from drying out the soil right against the fence there. So I'm going to pass the tiller a few times, and then I'll get to making the rows. Again, the depth is about the same. When I'm creating the rows, I will not dig deeper because I want to just get to the hard dirt and take any soil and any nutrients and put it on top of the row to make the row higher so everything can drain appropriately and so the plants don't stay wet. But you'll see me do that here shortly. Alright, so that final tilling is really what the soil needed. You can see it looks very powdery here. Looks like it'll be pretty easy to work. Still looks pretty nutrient rich. Looks like we have the making of a good fall garden. So I'm old school. I'm going to get a shovel and I'm going to get to work. Each row is about 24 inches wide and like I said, 24, 25 feet long. And I'm going to have 7 rows when it's all said and done. It is time consuming. It is a lot of work. But I find that if you build up your rows, the plants really drain well. They don't hold a lot of excess water around the base of the plant, and it really prevents any rotting or any issues during the wet times. this is the finished product. 7 rows, 24, 25 feet long. I'm going to plant cabbage, Brussels sprouts, carrots, greens, lettuces, broccoli, cauliflower, maybe some radishes, some type of beans. I may plant today, I may plant in a few days. I'm going to plant in stage series where every couple of days I'll plant a seed or a plant. That way not everything matures at the same time and I'll have a succession of pickings. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope y'all follow and subscribe, ring the bell.